Hi friends, welcome back to the weekly Warrior Wellness Checkup. This week we are continuing our conversation about mental health and its effects and etc. So let's go ahead and get started. Something I ran out of time last week, so I got to yammering. Something that I didn't spend a lot of time talking about was how thankful I am for all of you sharing your stuff with me. From the very first one we did about mental health, I received so many messages, texts. It's been insane. And a lot of you are sharing some really heavy stuff with me. I think that's amazing. Like I said, I ran out of time last week and I didn't really get to spend as much time talking about it as I wanted to, but that's hard to do. It's hard to talk to friends, it's hard to talk to therapists, it's hard to talk to relative strangers on the internet. But anytime we do that, if we take the time to tell somebody, hey, guess what, me too, that's a huge thing. And I'm just so proud of each and every single one of you who have taken that step into telling me a little bit about your story. That's something that I just can't adequately cheerlead for you on this side of the phone. But I just want to let you know that I don't take any of that lightly, and I don't tell your stuff also. Anything you share with me is incredibly confidential and I don't talk about it, but you're doing a great job and I'm so proud of you. So let's get started. Something that we talked about a little bit last week and didn't really get to go much into because of how quickly the time went was the effects that having any type of mental health thing have on our daily lives and our relationships. This is huge because if you think about it, human interaction and relationships are pretty much what run our day-to-day life, whether it be in your home life with your spouse, your partner, your children, in your work life, with your families, with your friends. If you're having any type of mental health issue, that impacts all of those relationships tremendously. I don't know, and of course, when we have these conversations, there's so many buts and ands and different cases of things. You know, your anxiety can affect your relationships one way. Your depression can affect your relationships another way. Any type of issue that you're having is going to affect those things differently. However, the common denominator here is that there's always an effect. Let's start at the top. I know, and obviously I can only speak for myself and my struggles, and when I do that, it's always just kind of to try to open the door. There are a million different circumstances and cases, and the thing about mental health is that it's kind of like not the same thing twice. So for me, in my experiences, if I'm having any type of struggle or issue, I immediately withdraw. I withdraw from my friends, I withdraw from my family, I withdraw from my partner, I just everyone. And I think at this point in the game, I withdraw because I know that if I don't, I will treat them all badly. And that's really sad, but it's just the truth. Anytime my anxiety is really high, I have no patience. I get overstimulated by sounds. I mean, people just having a conversation next to me can make me snap. It's a stimulation for me, and I know that I will snap at people who don't deserve it. I will not give people the patience that they deserve, and so on and so forth. So in the beginning, when I didn't really understand what was happening to me, I wasn't aware of those things. So I was ugly and nasty to people who didn't deserve it for no reason. And I'm not exempt. Sometimes that still happens. I definitely still take it out on people who don't deserve it. The difference is now I try to apologize, because I'm aware of what's happening and it's not their fault. It's just coming out of me. But on the flip side, I do withdraw. why is that negative? It's negative to withdraw because now you're dealing with all of this stuff alone. You know, you're isolating yourself to not harm the people you love and care about, but now you're making it worse because you're not talking to anybody about what's happening to you either. So it's a double-edged sword. I don't want to be around people because I don't want to harm them because I'm having a hard time. But then when I withdraw from people, it makes it worse because now everybody hates me. No one's ever going to forgive me. I don't understand how anybody can even love me like this, and so on and so forth. That's challenging. And, you know, of course, that normally centers around our partners and our friends for the most part because they're typically the ones who we choose to spend the most time with. As far as, you know, I have a daughter, she's 10, and I know that she has probably, over the course of time, dealt with a lot more of it than she should have, you know, mainly because I wasn't really aware of what was happening. But there have been plenty of times when, you know, she was just trying to tell me about her day, and just all of the dialogue was too much for me. You know, I couldn't listen to it anymore. I would have to, just give me a minute, and that's fucked up. It's not fair. It's not right to her. She didn't ask to be born. She's just trying to tell me about her day, you know. And so I think I spend more of my time trying to fix that behavior for her than anyone else, because she, in my opinion, she deserves it the most. You know, when we have kids, they deserve it the most. Co-workers. So, you know, that's always tricky because, you know, I'm fortunate enough that I get to work for myself, and I work with a very close friend of mine. So, you know, it hasn't always been that way, but for the last, 3 years and some change, it has. So I think that's definitely been beneficial because, my partner is fantastic. She is well aware of the struggles that I have every day, and she is aware of a lot of the things that will trigger things in me, and she's aware that if there's ever a time where I'm just like, yo, I gotta take a minute, then that means that, I've assessed what's going on and that I need to handle it. She is fantastic for that because not every person in your life is going to be able to be patient with you for something that you're dealing with and can't control. There's a lot of people out there who will say, what's it got to do with me? Figure it out. So to have a supportive environment for my work environment is really huge. I'm fortunate to get to have that. Prior to that, working in bars and, a corporate office for a long time, that definitely wasn't the case. Working with the public when you're struggling is hard. And a lot of the times, that gets you in trouble because you're struggling and having a hard time, and then you snap at someone. That's not acceptable in a work environment. And it's hard to say, well, I'm just having a hard time. No one gives a shit. And that's the adult atmosphere of struggling with mental health. When you're out there in the world having a hard time, no one gives a shit. It's very much figure it out, be an adult, and move on. And to a certain extent, it kind of should be like that. We should be aware of our own stuff. You can't just be out here bleeding on people who didn't cut you if you're self-aware, but finding the balance in that is difficult, I think, for everybody. It comes with a lot of time and therapy and self-awareness, and, we can't always do things and go, well, I'm depressed. Well, I'm having an anxiety attack. Well, I'm just not with it today. There is a definite hard line where we do have to take accountability, and we can't always blame our behavior on having a hard time. That one's hard because, it is a very fine line between being honest with the people around you and saying, I just need a minute, versus every day of your life you're blaming some bad behavior on your depression, your anxiety, your whatever. And when I say blame, I mean sometimes we do use it as an excuse. And it is very important that if we are struggling, we take accountability for that and know when to use it and when to not. Not everything is based on my anxiety. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm foul. I'm in a bad mood and the sun's not out and I'm ill and, this didn't go my way and I didn't get enough sleep or the dog did this or whatever. I can't be snapping at people because, I'm having a hard time because of that, because that's life. There's going to be a ton of things where things are going to happen to us and we have to handle them like adults, and it's got nothing to do with our struggles. The identification of that in our day-to-day life is really what is important. I can think of, this is terrible to admit, but I'm going to because it's what we do here. There are a couple of people who come up on top of my head when I talk about this particular subject, and all I can think is, it's always something, right? We've all got these people who we know where it's always something, and it doesn't matter. It's constant negativity, constant complaining, constant having a hard time, and it turns into, for me, the boy who cried wolf. And as someone who struggles daily, it is hard to process those people and go, fix it. You're out here complaining constantly about this and that and this and that, but what are you doing to help yourself? There was a quote I saw a long time ago. I don't want to mess this up because it's a good one. You only get 100% out of something you put 100% into. And for me, that was a game changer. If I'm not doing the work, who am I to bitch and complain because nothing changes? Now, I know for the different levels of mental health here, that can look a lot different. For some people, it's simply doing some yoga and taking some vitamins. Boom, you feel better. For a lot of people, it's not that simple. It is, intensive therapy, a lot of medication, a lot of breaking, that's not even remotely right, breaking bad cycles. So it's not going to look the same on everybody, and I realize the amount of work is not going to be the same for everybody, but if you're not taking the first steps and you're not even giving it 1% effort, it's hard to feel bad. And the relationships in your life are going to suffer because of that. And that's unfortunate for people who won't take the effort to get some help, because you see that their relationships fail constantly. And that means family, friends, spouses, partners, children. Some people don't have the self-awareness to start at the beginning to fix it, and their relationships suffered. I think the best thing you can do for yourself and the people around you is to take the time to figure out what works for you. When you do that, also important that I didn't mention in the beginning, well, lightly when I talked about my job, having a supportive network of people in your corner will make all the difference in the world. If your partner or spouse understands your love languages and your triggers and the fact that you're trying, that makes the biggest difference. If you have family that's not supportive of you and, just kind of brush off your feelings and what you're going through, cut them off. Dead weight. Keep it moving. If your spouse or partner is the same way, same. Obviously, it's a lot harder to cut off and cancel our children. I think they try. In their own way, they try to be supportive of us, but they're kids, so they get a pass. And work-wise, obviously, that's not always easy to just be like, I'm out. So, again, I'm running out of time. These 15 minutes just keep flying past so quick now that we've gotten started. Take evaluation of the people in your life. Who's supportive of you? Who's helping you be better? And then on the flip side, take an evaluation of yourself. How often am I really struggling, or am I just using that as an excuse? I think if you start paying attention to that over the next week, it'll make a world of difference. Until next Monday, I hope you guys have a great week, and I'm so glad you joined me today, and I will see you next week.